Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Her Side of the Ruck. I'm Tash.
I'm Bernice.
And we're not pundits.
We're just two women who know what a ruck is.
Well, this weekend was a history-making weekend in international rugby, both with the Women's Rugby World Cup here in England, but also in the Rugby Championship. We'll be talking about a lot of the action that happened over the weekend in this episode. We're starting off with the Women's Rugby World Cup. We had a record-breaking attendance up north in Sunderland, with England playing the USA. It beats the record for any international women's rugby match. Super impressive, although the scoreline wasn't necessarily impressive if you're an American or you're an Eagles fan. But it was what a way to kick off a weekend of some fantastic rugby. We also saw 15 years, the curse is broken for the Springboks women. Impressive game. They put 66 points on Brazil. We'll talk a little bit more about that match in this episode. And the lowest scoring game was the fixture between France and Italy, 24-0. There were some big points margins in this opening round of the pool stages, but no particular upsets. Bernice, I think everyone who we expected to won their round one pool matches.
For sure, I think that's exactly what I thought is no upsets. If you look at kind of what was the expected outcomes, you would have predicted all of those teams to win. So first round, no upsets. We saw some big point margins. And yeah, it was actually when I went through the scores, I was like, oh, and I saw France versus Italy score, I was like, is that right? Because when I looked at all of the other scores, it was like the margins were so big. But I think it was a good first round of matches. Really enjoyed that, the record attendance and just the vibe at the Women's World Cup. Like there was this crazy build up to the World Cup, and it really, the World Cup just has like this different ring to it and the different feel to it. And with the women, it really felt no different.
I feel like World Rugby's content team are also smashing it with promoting the different women across the different countries. You've got like the Scotland trio. You've seen them quite a lot on, including Fran McGee. We'll talk about Francesca McGee and her hat trick and how she's really storming onto the international stage for Scotland. I'm not just saying that because she's a trail finder ahead of this season, but she is also a fantastic winger, lightning quick. Let's talk about the opening match, England versus USA. England had a bit of a nervous 15-minute start. I also don't think the USA played badly, but it got about the 50th minute, the Red Roses were up and running and they just looked unstoppable. Now, I don't think the USA are a bad side, and I do think they could have a really great game against the Wallaroos, even though the Wallaroos absolutely destroyed Samoa. And maybe I'm putting that politely, but a lot of missed tackles. I think there were some electric tries that were scored across all the pools in this opening round, but where some of the tries were scored was a real lack of defense from the sides that were quite heavily beaten. And I think that the defense is what separates the I suppose, three nations, tier two nations and tier one nations. It's the same in the men's international rugby as well, but it is especially true of the women's game, particularly when you have a lot of excellent sevens players playing in this tournament. And let's talk about one of those sevens players, Nadine Roos. Bernice, we said she was one to watch out as she gets that opening try for South Africa against Brazil.
Oh, Nadine Roos is just incredible, isn't she? And she plays a variety of different positions, but I really do enjoy her at scrum half. And yeah, I think again, she just proved why she's one of SA's women's best players. And yeah, I just think she didn't fall short of the expectations that we have of her. And I know that we will dive a little bit deeper into the South Africa versus Brazil match. But yeah, I think we did struggle a little bit in the beginning. Like we had a lot of opportunities we didn't capitalize on. But yeah, then in the second half, we saw a much better performance from the ladies. And then Aseza Hele is also, she is incredible. I mean, we've seen her.
She was insane.
She's walking over opponents, bumping them out of the way. She was really insane. She's incredibly strong. But yeah, I think the women will be very happy with that performance. Overall, I think we did what we needed to do in the pool, and yeah, it's a very great win. Obviously, we hope that South Africa can get out of the pool stages this time around. And yeah, I think it's off to a good start. We are ranked first, and even though it's still the first round, a lot can happen, and there's a lot of space for improvement, and there's a lot that needs to happen. But yeah, I think we were off to a very good start.
It can only fill you with confidence going
Mm,
forward, whether you're a player or whether you're a fan watching
for
on.
sure.
Let's talk about some of the other winners in the pools. Canada, again, I think they are a big contender, although depending in 2 weeks' time, I don't want to say it a bit too early on because we obviously have this weekend's before we have the following weekends. Canada versus Scotland could turn out to be a very juicy fixture and definitely one to watch. And I don't think the Scotland Wales score was something that fans were necessarily expecting. Like the BBC, who were broadcasting it in the UK, basically bigging it up as it's going to be the tightest pool match. It's going to be the biggest competition. You can see why it was, because in the Women's Six Nations this year, there was only 3 points difference between Scotland and Wales, and it was played in Scotland. So the Scots had that advantage. But it just doesn't seem that the Wales' cohesion has clicked together as with Scotland. They really kind of found the right gaps. I mean, when you've got Lisa Thompson linking up with Fran McGee in the back line, the Scott like that setup, but also Helen Nelson was more confident on her kicking. And I think she's spoken a lot about in the media how it kind of haunted her the last time out Scotland played Wales in the Rugby World Cup and they lost because of a very small margin. So they've gone out and proven to people that they could compete with some of the top nations. And actually, I hope they do. I really hope they give Canada a great game, because not only is that exciting for rugby fans, it also instills, I suppose, I predicted that Canada will come top, Scotland will come second, and Scotland will go on to play England in the quarterfinals. And quite frankly, if the Red Roses don't get to the final, in my opinion, I feel that's going to be disappointing given the caliber of talent they've got in their squad and how well they've done leading up to this World Cup with 57 wins out of 58 is something like that. It's absolutely crazy. Like, what team ever has done that? But also, England are fully professional. You've got some of the issues that there's obviously been debates with contracts around Scotland and some of the other nations about when they're going to get their funding and stuff. And that conversation will never come at a good time, whether that's pre-World Cup, post-World Cup. But the Scotland women just went out and showed that they were really up for it this weekend. So that was a cracking match, some really great tries. Francesca McGee with a hat trick with the first score in 55 seconds. She was a ballerina. She was a trained ballerina, and now she is a star-studded winger. What an insane player she is. So yeah, I feel like Scotland could really pitch up, but depends what kind of team they put out against Fiji. And then if they decide to go strong against Fiji to guarantee top two in their pool, or if they go, let's rotate out into the wider squad and go half Canada and contest for top spot, you don't know. Black Ferns, everyone, we've had a lot of people in our comments, haven't we, talking about Georgia Miller. Oh, you missed Georgia Miller out. And I was like, well, I think she's a very well-known player on the Sevens tour, but she showed how good a rugby player she is, but also showed that Sevens flair. That first try that she scored where she kind of goes, boo, boo, and she's in, and you're like, oh, right, this is what she's about. Yeah, she's great. And then she scores another try. And again, plays with the same flair. Spain were going to struggle. I think where the Black Ferns might feel disappointed is that Spain did get over for a try, literally in the final few. It was like in the 82, 83rd minute or something. Great for Spain that they didn't give up. And even when you know the game is lost and you're going to struggle to get any sort of bonus points from this match, you still go and try and get some points. If anything, that is really positive for the Spanish going through, and you can it gives you a little bit of confidence heading through to the next round. But yeah, the Black Ferns winning that match was not surprising to me.
No, definitely. And I think, like you said, Georgia Miller, she is just an excellent player. And again, she showed, what amazing player she is on both sevens level and 15 women's rugby. But I think also, speaking of good results in that pool, Ireland also had their win over Japan 42-14, which was also expected. But yeah, Ireland started really quickly with early tries that essentially just set the tone for the match going on. And they had some strong set pieces. If you look at their mauls, if you look at their scrums, like it was very strong. And Japan did fight back in the second half, which is, it was great to see. They scored 2 tries and essentially they just capitalized on Ireland's high error rate in the second half. So Japan beat Ireland in 2022, which was their most recent match against them. So I think Ireland seeking a bit of revenge there.
Mm.
And they got their revenge. They got proper revenge. So yeah, and I think Eve's 90-meter try was very much a defining moment in the match. Like
Mm.
that is just insane. And
Sure.
those are like the type of moments in the World Cup that you just love to see. Yeah, and Brittany Hogan was named player of the match. I think she was really strong on attack, as well as defensively. And yeah, just showed why she was named player of the match.
I feel like if Ireland can kind of iron out some of maybe the technical issues that they could easily change when they play the Black Ferns. I feel like that could be maybe an even better match than people expect. I'm sure we'll get Kiwis in the comments who will say no, the Black Ferns will absolutely, it will be a rollover for them, but I don't think so. I feel like where Ireland women's rugby is right now, it's progressed massively in a very short period of time, and don't underestimate them. I mean, you can never underestimate the Black Ferns, but I feel like the Black Ferns step up when it comes to knockouts more so than necessarily pool stages. Like we expect them to score loads of tries against a team like Spain, who they have some quality players in, but they don't have the same overall talent and consistency that the Black Ferns do. I mean, when Spain played England at Matty Woods Welford Road in a warm-up game, England put 97 points on them. It was 97-7. That's an insane scoreline to get. I mean, to get anywhere plus 50 points in an 80-minute game is just obscene. So to get 97 is kind of crazy. So if you're ranking the top teams in the world at the minute, you're including England, Black Ferns, Canada, France. If any of those teams put 50 plus points on a team like Spain, for example, just a kind of objectively speaking, it's not a surprise because they are the strongest teams. With France, it depends what French side you'll get on the day. And I feel, let's talk about that 24-0 against Italy. I managed to catch the second half of that game. And Italy didn't play badly at all. They really got some good yards. They had some good phases of play. They weren't too bad in the set pieces, but France was just that little bit better. And when there was a changeover with the ball, France could exploit a lot better. And when you've got consistently good kickers, and when they don't miss, and it's just that extra 3 points or that 5, and then that extra 2 on top with that conversion, it's very hard to chase back. But it was 10-0 at half time, and it did feel like a game that could be kind of like butting heads, but it didn't turn into that, and the French were just better. I don't think the French were at their best though, because I could have seen them putting a lot more points on Italy, even though Italy are not a bad side. For me in that pool, the contest will be between South Africa and Italy, given how confident South Africa should be coming off that win against Brazil. Now it's tough for Brazil. They're 25th ranked in the world. They're basically one of the lowest ranking teams in this competition. Their first Rugby World Cup. It's tough for them. But at the same time, the Springboks women have not had an easy ride in Rugby World Cups either. So for them to get a win will only fuel them with confidence. And I'm sure you've seen all of this, Bernice, but like the vibes when they're walking in, they're just so happy. Like the joy, it makes you smile when you see them all dancing and just vibing and grooving. It's just joyful to watch. And if they're taking that attitude from walking into the stadium onto the pitch, as well as being like, I'm going to boulder my way through to the try line, I feel like against Italy, that would be a really great competition. So definitely another fixture to watch if you want a recommendation from me. I will always say watch England as well, but I feel like England Samoa this weekend, I would be surprised if there isn't a big rotation. Like you're taking some of you're not your normal 23 squad and rotated them out for Samoa just to give them a run out. And particularly because there's been, not, I don't want to say an injury crisis, but there's some injury worries for fly halves in the Red Roses camp. I can see there being a rotation and just shifting around. But at the same time, you don't want to lose that match just because you go. But I don't think you would, because there are women who play in the Red Roses that don't get to start for the Red Roses, but would get to start for another nation, because the quality in England is just really good, because it's professional, and because the RFU put funding into the game very, very early on. So when people say to me, oh, the Red Roses just kind of bulldoze everybody, one, no, they don't, because they lost the Black Ferns in the last Rugby World Cup in the final. And two, the RFU put that funding in early because they saw women's rugby in England as a priority, which is a good thing that they did, in my opinion. Some standout performances. Julia Schell, Canada, 6 tries and all in the second half. That, like,
it's insane.
It's obscene. And I mean, she's set up by some, they're not necessarily just her. She's not making just individual breaks. And that's not to take away any of the fact that she scored 6 great tries, but they did come from great phases of play from the Canada team, and they are looking dangerous. And them playing Scotland, as I've already said, I think could be really good. But I do think the Maple Leafs will still edge it. And I do think that they will go far. And it will be interesting if Canada come up against the Black Ferns outside the pool stages. That excites me. As a neutral watching that really, really excites me. Francesca McGee, already mentioned her tries, but her defense was great as well. She was there, like, pulling down when Wales did make a couple of really good line breaks, and she was just there, like, clutching them and pulling them down to the floor. Like, not only does she have the speed, but she has a hell of a lot of physical strength. So she did a lot of either try saving tackles or stops the line break that may have led to a try. And then also Hannah Bottoman, Red Rose's prop. My God, she's a beast. She was everywhere. Her scrummaging was great. She scores a try. Her tackling is great. Like, I mean, the Red Roses have some great, I know I'm biased saying this, but the Red Roses has some really quality props. And I think with the driving mauling, you've seen this with Canada and the Black Ferns. When they're in a driving maul, it's going to take a hell of a team to stop them. And if you've got quality props, someone like Hannah Bottoman, that's going to be difficult to do that. So, and that, for me, that's what sets the top nations apart. If you've got that power in the driving maul, people say, oh, it's boring rugby. It's not boring rugby. If you've got a great set piece, a great driving maul, 5 to 10 meters out, you score a try. Well, that is just well-drilled, well-trained teams. Why shouldn't a team be rewarded for that? And in my opinion, the Red Roses did get rewarded for that. I'll also do a mention for Meg Jones, because Magic Meg, she is just amazing. Like, she creates opportunities, and she is an outside centre more than she is a fly half, but there's definitely a lot of conversations going around at the minute saying if she needs to come in as 10 cover, she can. And I think some of her kicking on the pitch at the weekend was excellent. My 2 games that I think people should watch out for is Italy versus South Africa and the USA versus Australia. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree. And just hearing that makes me so excited. I definitely think, especially when you look at the Italy versus South Africa game, obviously I'm going to be a bit biased here, and I'm going to be most
Sure.
excited about this match because obviously, and as you've mentioned, the vibes are just high, the spirits are good, and that's exactly what you want from a team going into the World Cup. And yes, we are taking this seriously, but I think being in that positive mindset and really pitching up with that kind of mentality is just as important as actually going on the field and performing at your best. So I think Italy is a very good side, and we've seen the result against France compared to like the other results over the weekend. So even though Italy got nilled on the scoreboard, I still think they're a very good side. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And South Africa, obviously, they big margin win against Brazil, 66-6. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of happen when you put those two together. Italy obviously lost their match, so they're going to want to come out guns blazing and kind of want to prove, why they're there. But I think if Italy loses this match, it's also going to be interesting to kind of see where things go for the rest of the tournament, because then South Africa still has to play France.
Mm.
So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what will happen.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely a lot of games this weekend where countries will feel that it's do or die, not to
Mm,
be overly dramatic, but for teams that
mm,
have lost this weekend against teams which they could have beaten, or people were saying in the world of rugby, it's going to be a close competition, aka Scotland v Wales. Like the Welsh were feeling a bit of pressure. Well, I don't know. What do you do with that mindset? You've lost to Scotland. You pretty much know that Canada are much stronger than
mm.
you overall, and then it's Fiji. Do you hope that that Canada rotate their squad out when they play Wales and hold it strong to play Scotland, or and you try get as many points and try secure a bonus point here or there, and then you go really hard against Fiji? I don't know. You can never tell, can you? But I love a bit of drama. But I also think the USA versus Australia is a game to watch. I don't think we saw the USA at their best. Now, I'm not saying they didn't play badly against the Red Roses. I just think the Red Roses are here and the USA are here. And
Mm,
they did score a try, but where their fitness lacked was when the Red Roses punished. And there were a couple of commentators who were saying, oh, you can see that the USA didn't give up. Their fitness is good. I'm like, but there was a lapse in it. There was a lapse in speed, I thought, around the 50-minute to 60-minute mark. There was about 10 minutes where the Red Roses just went, pow, 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 we're going to score. Whether that was confidence from the Red Roses after a nervous 15-minute start or the lapse of fitness from the Eagles, I don't know. Again, it's all subjective, but when you look at the Red Roses, they are such an excellent team. It's going to take another quality team to beat them. I think as well for them, and I'm hoping as an England fan, they've got those nerves out of the way. They played their first game, they've won, they scored tons of tries. It's been really positive. They won't have another start like that again, but I'm just praying, touch wood, touch the wood on my desk right here, that won't happen again, because I was a bit like, stressing out. But that's just me. Obviously, hope the Red Roses do really well in this competition. But yeah, those are my two games to watch out for in the coming weeks. I just think they could really define the pool stages. I would probably also throw the Black Ferns and Ireland into that mix, but it really just depends on how the two teams play. Talking about the Black Ferns and New Zealand and South Africa, let's move on to the Rugby Championship. Obviously, a more positive weekend for you as a Safa, Bernice, but also a great weekend for Argentina as well. I've got a couple of Kiwis in my office, and it's best to say, they weren't best pleased this morning when we went into the office. But let's start on with South Africa versus Australia. Reaction, Bernice?
Yeah, it's a win. It's a win. Yeah, I think it was definitely a better performance than I'd say compared to the first match against Australia.
Sure.
It will be interesting to see though what is going to happen against when the Springboks play the All Blacks at Eden Park, which we will get to a bit later. Because now the All Blacks have lost. The Springboks won this match, but they lost the previous match, and we're not at our base still, like defensively. I mean, Australia still scored 3 tries against us. There are a lot of things that we have to improve on. And so the All Blacks have also lost. So it's going to be very interesting to see both of us have a 2-week break. But yeah, I think the conditions made it very tricky. So it was raining in Cape Town, like I think it was like an hour or so before kickoff. It was
Mm.
pouring down rain. So the conditions were, it was very wet underfoot, and you can just tell like the ball was super slippery. But I know there are going to be people in the comments coming at me saying I'm trying to make excuses. I'm not.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think that definitely contributed to like the type of match. But
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, the lineouts were a lot better compared to the previous week against Australia, which is great. So there is an improvement already. We
Mm,
didn't lose one line out, but I think in the previous match we lost about five line outs.
yeah.
So that's already a lot better. So we didn't get our bonus point, but we also prevented Australia from getting their bonus point. James O'Connor missed 11 points to the post. So it's kind of like you can't help but think like, oof, what
Yeah,
if?
a word on James Conner. On the highlights, I saw that he did a massive boot and he did get it over. And I was like, that's great because he's coming to Leicester after the TRC, which is great. But if he's missing a lot of points, he won't start fly half. But I know in terms of where, not to talk about take away too much from international rugby onto club rugby, Tigers have kind of signed some youngsters and some good young fly halves as well. And I feel like James O'Connor and his big boot could be helpful in the back line, but not necessarily at 10. Aussies will be happy, Bernice, about Nick White deciding that his retirement was about as long as the lifetime of a lettuce, because he did a lovely kick to set up that try for Australia, and annoying, I'm sure, for you as a South African. So I feel like Nick White's just one of those players where he's like, why are you so annoyingly good? And it can be like when you don't want them to win, it's like, really, did you just do something that was really excellent? And I remember we've talked about this during the Lions tour. He very much got up in their face, and he's one of those characters where he's almost like a
Mm.
small dog with a large bark. I mean that in the nicest way possible, that he kind of just draws attention to himself. And he's a very good player, and particularly given that he was on the peak of retirement and he was going to retire and he hasn't. I thought he played very, very well. Going to have a mention for one of my favourites, Handré Pollard, lovely crossfield kick to Kane Moody. And it's just what he does at 10. And at least with this one, he got it nicely, and it wasn't just like off the shin. So I thought that was really good. And it looks like I said this when he's been back in Springbok colours. It looks like he's really got his mojo back and his confidence back, because when he was at club,
Mm.
it just seemed there was a little bit touch and go. And I think he spoke about it a little bit in the media and stuff, just saying like it is just mental. So great to see him have a good performance. And Evan Etzebeth getting that try that just kind of gives the point enough points margin for you to stretch the win and take the win.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing when I saw Andre Pollard slotting over those penalty kicks. I was like, Tash is going to be so happy. And yeah, I mean, you're replacing one good kicker with another one. Obviously, James O'Connor missed a few points to the post, but I think
Mm,
he's a very good fly half.
yeah.
Just overall, so I think you're getting a gem there, and it's going to be interesting to see how he performs for Leicester Tigers. But I think South Africa also wasted a lot of opportunities in
Mm,
Australia's 22. So even though the score was 30-22, I think um, we could have done a lot better with the opportunities that we were given. And yeah, unfortunately, that last pass to Jesse Kriel that didn't go to hand, then we could have gotten our bonus point. And if you look at the competition and where everyone's standing, everyone has lost one match.
mm,
You're going to need that 1 point. So we'll see kind of the role that's going to play more towards the end of the competition. But yeah, Australia also had the injury to like the Tom Wright injury, which
that's a shame.
unfortunately it seems like it's going to be serious. Let's hope
Mm,
not, and we wish him a very speedy recovery. But to me, I think he is one of the best players in the
yeah.
Australian side. Like Tom Wright is just incredible.
Yeah, and he performed really, really well in the British and Irish Lions tour down under. And it's a shame that not only for him, but also for Australia, that they've lost him to a serious injury. So, yeah, as you've mentioned, Bernice, we wish him a speedy recovery. Just quickly now on the Los Pumas, a historic win in Argentina. That was a really exciting game to watch. It was very competitive. I feel like with Argentina, they're one of those teams where they would consistently be in the top four of men's international
Mhm.
rugby if they were consistent, because having watched them in that warm-up game in Dublin against the British and Irish Lions, they played with so much physicality and so much confidence. And then when they played at home against England, England won 2-0, and England had lost so many of their top talent like Finn Smith, Marcus Smith, Alex Mitchell, Tommy Freeman. I know I'm listing a lot of Saints boys there, apart from Marcus Smith, all to the British and Irish Lions tour. And England won. I mean, it was great. I'm obviously not going to say that's a bad thing for me as an England fan. I'm not going to hide my bias there. It was particularly like first fixture, I was gobsmacked how good England played. But yeah, Argentina can. Are they a bit like the French sometimes, where they can either be, you cannot beat them. They are so good up front. They have that flair. Santi Carreras, he's got the wheels to just absolutely go. So if you've got like that physicality up front and the wheels in the back line, they should be in that consistently in the top 4 rankings for the men's teams, but they're just not consistent enough. So the fact that they finally beat the All Blacks in Argentina is a massive historic win. And I'm sure any Los Pumas fans will be over the moon. But it kind of means that the TRC is kind of open. There's a lot to fight for.
It's up for grabs, basically.
Yeah.
I think, like, I realized when you did the intro to the Argentina match, I was smiling so big, and I realized, no, wait, like, you can't be smiling that big.
I know.
But yeah, I think it's always amazing to see that a side like the Los Pumas are performing well, and I mean, a few years ago, when you will be playing the Los Pumas, you just know, okay, no, you're gonna beat them. Now you don't know. It's very unpredictable, and yes, they're a good side, but it's still like very unpredictable, as you've mentioned, just like the French teams. But I do think, yes, it's a surprise, because I just think based off of that, like, inconsistency, it's still a surprise. But also, like, why is it still a surprise? I mean, Argentina beat every previous rugby championship. So, I mean, like, I expected them to win one of the matches against New Zealand. I just didn't know which one. And when I saw the points margin last week, I was like, oh no, I hope this is not like just going to be a repeat of the England tour.
Absolutely.
So I'm really happy to see that they bounced back and that they held on to that win. And yeah, now the TRC is really up for grabs. It's going to be interesting because everyone has lost a match, everyone has won a match. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see the outcome.
Well, international rugby is super exciting at the minute, and the drama is hotting up. We will be covering much more as it unfolds here on Her Side of the Ruck. We also just want to say thank you so much we've had an influx of subscribers and engagement in the past week or so, and it's great to see that you guys are loving our content. And if you did really like this episode and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and give us a like. And also, we want to hear your thoughts, so drop us a comment below. But for now, that is all on this episode of Her Side of the Ruck. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Saying bye from the UK is me, Tash.
Saying bye from South Africa is me, Bernice. Bye.